Welcome to JAR Family Session 2, Money for Needs and Wants. For this lesson, you will need the following materials: your volunteer guidebook, student table tents from last session, and the junior journal packets, as well as access to the digital presentation that can be found at learn.ja.org. You can work with your classroom teacher to determine whether you or the teacher will be responsible for pulling up the digital presentation each time you visit the classroom. We recommend asking the teacher to have the presentation ready for you to go each time you come in, if possible. To aid in preparation and facilitation, you'll see in the guidebook blue text boxes, which contain JA of South Dakota session-specific teaching tips, and yellow text boxes that include vocabulary terms and presentation content that's not already in the guidebook. In Session 2, Money for Needs and Wants, students will be learning about how families use money to pay for different things that they need and want. First, you will greet the students and tell them that today they will be learning about wants and needs that families have. The next slideshow shows a picture of the junior journal packet. You will need this later on in the lesson, and I recommend handing this packet out later so that it doesn't become distracting for students. Ask students to recall what they learned the last time you visited. Prompt them to share their definition of family with the class. If possible, I recommend having students move to a spot on the floor that is close to the screen with the presentation. Many classrooms already have assigned floor seating for their students. The next slide showcases the vocabulary terms for this lesson. This slide is interactive and provides an opportunity for students to come up and select each vocabulary card to reveal the definition. I recommend asking students to think about how they would define each of these terms before revealing the definition. In this case, you might also ask students to think of examples of needs and wants before you define the word or after you define the word to better deepen their understanding of the vocabulary terms. To get students more engaged with this lesson, you may consider asking them to share their ideas with a shoulder partner before you call on them to share out with the entire class. You could consider sharing a story of a time when you had to buy a need, or a story of a time where you wanted something and didn't buy it. The next several slides have images of items that students will have to decide whether it is a need or is it a want. To get students moving, you could have students stand if it's a need and sit if it's a want for each of the pictures. Stress the importance of our need for food, shelter, and clothing. However, we may not need certain types of food, shelter, or clothing to live. For example, we need 1 coat, not 5. We need healthy food, not candy. Be sensitive to reasons students give as to why they consider certain items a need or a want. For example, many students will consider a dog a want. However, a service dog could be considered a need for a person who is visually impaired. The diploma can be confusing since it is not food, clothing, or shelter. Describe it as something we need so that we can make money in order to buy our needs and wants. You could even bring in your diploma to share your accomplishments. In addition, you could also consider bringing in pictures of objects that represent needs and wants, or bring actual items you could put in a bag. Give each student an item and have them sort them into groups of needs and wants and tell you why they put it into each group. You could bring things such as socks, candy, pop, a bottle of water, a cell phone, a pair of socks, etc. And as you can see, we have several examples. If you needed to skip past some of the pictures for any given reason, remember that you have this tab at the bottom that allows you to scroll through the presentation. For the wants and needs activity slide, consider incorporating movement into this activity by having all students stand in the center of the classroom. Designate one side of the classroom as needs and the other as wants. Each time you click on a card on the screen, students can move to the side of the classroom that they believe is correct. And you just click on each to reveal a picture. Go over the answer and have students come to the middle of the classroom again before clicking on the next card. You will want to notice that this game includes 2 green arrows that allow you, the volunteer, to choose an item of your own. You are more than welcome to supply your own item that you think of, or you can use the ones that are suggested in the teaching tips, which include things like a bike, a book, a toothbrush, glasses, or electricity. So just be familiar when you click through where those green arrows are. After the activity, ask students to tell you 1 or 2 things they learned about needs and wants. From there, you will review the lesson with the students and tell them that they will be learning about goods and services that businesses provide for families in the next lesson. If time allows, have students complete the needs and wants page of their junior journal. If there's not time at the end of the lesson, you can have students complete this activity when they take their junior journal home after the 5th session, or when they have extra time in class. Remember, either you or the teacher should collect the junior journals and name tents at the end of every lesson, since it will be needed for the following lesson.